Hammers, build your body and your bank. Check out how to earn 10K per month plus with my business intelligence finance technology consultant training accelerator program. Link in the description. Hammers, welcome back. It is actually the end of the quarter and I was reviewing my tracking sheet. I'll show you guys the process of what I like to do since it's the end of the quarter. It's a good time to have a look. This is how I actually use the sheet and I find it to be very helpful because it gives you something tangible to work towards. You can see here I actually missed about 7 days, which is not so great. I've been working on launching the academy and all of that. So this sheet is a tool I use to stay in the game and make sure over the long run I'm doing what I need to do. So the quarter spans from this side to this side. And if I highlight across the top, I can see that I averaged 91 sets this quarter per week. So that's good. I'm happy with that. Although my performance here is not so great. And I do need to continue launching. So it is a busy time period. So I might just go on maintenance, which is work out every 2 days instead of every other day. At least that keeps me on maintenance. So I'll figure that out. But the first thing I look at is how well I did across the quarter with the weekly average, and that comes out to 91 sets on average per week for the last 3 months. Okay, so that gives me that number. Then over here, I track the amount of hours I worked. Last week, I worked 63 hours, which is just a sum of everything. And then the week before that was actually my all-time best. So that was 88 hours, and that's awesome. I was able to go to the gym, so I'm quite happy with that performance, and so on. So before I start my workday, I input my numbers, how many sets I did, and how many hours I worked, and that allows me to track this. And I've been doing this since 2022, and that's how I did my transformation. That's how I put on 40 pounds of muscle so far. I'm going for, okay. Now I want to share this indicator, which says 69.1, and that's the rolling 7-day sum of the amount of hours I worked. So before, if I screwed up the week, for example, if I had a day with 7 hours, I'd have to wait till the next week to try to maximize this metric. And I like this new indicator because what it does is it calculates the rolling sum of the previous 7 days. What does that mean? So this number right now is a sum of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it comes to 69.07 over here. Now, suppose I put in 5 hours today, definitely not more than that, but then this will drop to 67 or 62.7. So the whole metric game here becomes if I do 12 hours, the next day I do 12 hours, I'm back to green, which is 71.5. Now, of course, this is very personal. Like, what is work ethic? What does that mean to you? How much are you trying to work? I'm trying to maximize my performance. So this is the new indicator I put on the tracking sheet. That's how I use this. The last 6 weeks have been really good. I averaged 68 hours per week over the last 6 weeks. And then I like to track the number of minutes read just to force myself to read a little. Otherwise I wouldn't. And then at the bottom, I have my graphs, my focus hours by week. So this division here is the division for the quarter. So this is Q3, Q2, Q1, and Q4 is up next. And this is the focus hours by quarter. Last quarter I got 613, quarter before that 469. So this is pretty good performance last quarter. And then the sets by quarter, I got 1,182 this quarter, and last quarter was 1,375. So not as good as last quarter, but at least I know where I stack. And the challenge will be maintaining these numbers as I enter a busy period. Now, if I didn't track this, it'd be very hard. So I do think tracking is a great idea, and that's what allows me to stay in the game. And that's exactly what I've been doing. And without this, I wouldn't remember how much I worked out, and I wouldn't have a motivation to keep steady. So this tool is really good. I will pause there. I will see you guys in a bit. Hammers, welcome back. All right, my mic on? All right, so what was I saying? Yes, so we did a quarterly review of the tracking sheet, and good news was the focus performance was good. The bad news was the workout performance has been slipping. So time for a workout. Now, I do need to get back to work. And I am facing that in where you are like, should you do your workout, which you know you should do, or should you do your pressing matter at hand? And it is that classic conflict. Now, let's see. So it's 124, and I did decide to go for the workout, which is great because my sheet is not looking so good. 7 days, I haven't put in any numbers. Now, at the weekly level, at the quarterly level, everything is looking good. I like to keep it above 90 sets per quarter, and that's there. 90 per week on average, and that is there for the quarter. But thinking about the long workout makes me delay it. So I came up with a plan. I'm actually gonna use the process optimization technique on the workout, and I'm gonna do it that way. So what does that mean? I'm gonna look for the highest value items in the workout, and I'm gonna do those. Okay, now there's a few techniques for optimizing innovation processes and so on. One of them is called value stream mapping, which is very traditional software development, software engineering, DevOps, and so on. The other is I learned from Elon Musk, and I'm actually going to use that one. So what he does is first he says, question the requirements. Every single requirement, doesn't matter who it came from, question them. Now, in this case, the requirements came from me, 5 minutes stair climber, and my whole list of workouts. Now, I have to say, the elements that are the best are the ones where I go to failure. That's where I get the stimulus. So out of all my workouts, I've questioned the requirements, and I'm going to zero in. It is better for me to do a workout where I target the potent parts than to keep delaying. And thinking about Dorian Yates, the way he works out is, as a 6-time Mr. Olympia, he works out in 45 minutes. So how does he do that? First, he does what's called an ignition set, as Athlete X would call it, or a warm-up set with pretty decent amount of weights, but for 20 reps, not too heavy. And then he does one working set to failure, gun to your head, push yourself as hard as you can, go to true muscular failure. If you do that, it's a very productive set. So that is where most of the value lies. So the first thing is, after questioning all the requirements, I'm going to narrow it down to one ignition set and set to failure, supersetted with half reps or whatever. So what does that look like in practice? The first thing I'm going to do is, okay, so what is the optimization process? It's question requirements, delete any question all requirements, delete any process you can, simplify and optimize, then accelerate cycle time, and then automate. Now, of course, this is a recipe to avoid jumping into automation. You're automating things that should be removed. Of course, for this workout, there's nothing to automate, so the first 4 apply. Question all the requirements. I'm going to go through the list and I'm going to see what I can remove and what the valuable parts are. So the valuable parts are, first, the warm-up is gone. I know that sounds ridiculous. I should do 5 minutes of stair climber, but for my current goal of getting to 180 pounds, 8%, the warm-up does not contribute value. It is a prevention technique to prevent injuries and raise core temperature. So I'm going to do a set of maximum pull-ups with partial reps supersetted, and that will raise my core temperature, and I don't think I can get injured on pull-ups. So there's my warm-up, okay? Then after that, for shoulders, typically what I do is I do 3 sets for shoulders with side laterals, then 1 set with crossbody cable raise or cable deltoid exercise. I forget what it's called. So I'm going to shrink that down to 1 ignition set. So 20 pounds, 20 reps, side laterals, and then 1 working superset, 30 pounds, maximum reps with rest pause, drop set to 20 pounds, maximum set reps with rest pause, and partial reps on both. Just 1 working set. And then I'm done shoulders. From there, I'm going to do something similar for triceps, 1 ignition set, 1 working set, and then I am going to do the same thing for biceps, 1 set all the way to failure. Now, the downside is I don't get the time under tension that is optimal, but I still get 90% of the benefits by going to failure. That is the plan. The requirements have been questioned, okay? The parts and processes that I can delete have been deleted, and I have simplified it wherever I can. The next step is to accelerate cycle time to do it faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I do 1 minute and 30 second rest period on the dot, and I can accelerate cycle time there, and that should get me hopefully 90% of the value at half the time is my goal. So I shall see you guys inside. All right, so this is the warm up. We're going to do it with the maximum pull-ups. It is arm day, by the way. Biceps, triceps, shoulders. I jump to adjust my grip. Feeling it now. I'm at 12. partials. All right, so that was really good. One maximum set of pull-ups just wakes the body right up. So that was extremely productive. Now I am stretching between sets. I do want to do some stretches. So after the pull-ups, after a minute and 30 seconds, I did do some stretches. Okay, so next is the ignition set for shoulders, which is going to be 20 reps with 20 pounds, nice and controlled. Oh yeah, I am remembering I need to do accessory lift, which is calves for today. So I'll have to figure out how to, maybe I'll sneak that in. Okay, so this is the first and only working set. So I gotta go all out for this. So I'm gonna do 18 plus 18 with 30 pounds. That's 18 full reps and then 18 half reps, and then 18 and 18 with on the drop set, same thing. Now, there is a trade-off. So what is the trade-off? I haven't worked out in 7 days and I'm coming back and I'm just going ham. So the risk of injury is higher, which is something I'm keeping in mind. And I wanna make sure that I'm careful from that angle. I'm going to take a rest pause at 13. $14, $15, $16, $17, $18. Okay, now partials. Okay, so I'm gonna take a rest pause after the partials, just so I can push the 20 pounds on the drop set more. And I really gotta go ham here because this is the last movement for shoulder already. And I could have probably done one more rep on the last set, so I gotta focus here and get maximum reps. Okay, rest pause, they're burning. Okay, they got to failure, but I'm gonna rest pause and then keep going. Okay, that's it. And partials. Pretty happy with that. That went to failure. So normally I do two of these, two working sets like this, and then another shoulder movement with the cable. But today's the high impact workout, shortened. I can really go for the partials. That'll help get them to failure. Okay, so triceps is going to be interesting because I'm going to try to roast it all in one set. But you know what? First, it will be ignition set, so I don't have to worry about that just yet. So I'm going to put it on 38.5 pounds. And I'll do about 20 reps, nice and slow, to get them pre-exhausted a little bit. Now, do I think this is enough volume? No, that was not enough for shoulders. I can still feel that they have lots of strength left, even though it was one set till failure. But for the purpose of the high impact, low duration workout, I do think it will cause stimulus of protein synthesis, which is what I'm after. I flare my lats to distribute the loads there. That way my triceps can get a rest pause. Partials. Okay, so this is the working set. I really got to make it count. So I'm going to do the same exercise behind the back overhead tricep press, but I'm going to superset it with run down the rack style tricep push downs. So this is about 55 pounds, which should be pretty heavy. The rest period was very short, so they're already at failure. Okay, superset it with the same exercise. Okay, I'm going to give it about a 5-second rest pause. And then I'll do a triple drop set with this. This is 60 pounds. So I'm going to do a rest pause, and I'm just going to work the heavy weight a little bit more because I only got 3 reps. So more time under tension with the heavy weight would be better. Okay. It's about 50 pounds. Another rest pause. All right. This is the last level of the drop set.
do partials. I'm gonna do a lot of these to try to get the triceps fatigued in one go. All right, rest pause. Oh yeah, I feel it. They're hit pretty nice. Okay, so I need to blast the biceps. I need to blast the arms in one go. So how am I gonna do that? I'm gonna use 80 pounds and I'm gonna do 10 plus 6. So one superset with partial reps of 10 plus 6, then a drop set with 5 plus 5 with 60 pounds. So superset with partials and a drop set. And I did have a max set of pull-ups in there earlier, so that'll definitely help. But that's the plan. And then after I'm done the biceps, I'm going to superset that with calves so I can get some calf work in there. And then we're done. So what's the time? So that's about a half an hour, hopefully. So pretty jam-packed and impactful for half an hour. Okay, so this is 10 plus 6. That's tough. Okay, 10 and 6 more partials. I gotta push 7. Okay, I snuck off a few extra since I'm only doing one working set. Okay, 5 plus 5 now. And I take a rest pause. The triceps are feeling really good. That tricep blast was insane. They're feeling better than if I would have worked them my normal way. All right, so the drop set. 1, 2, 3. All right, that's failure. Okay, partials. All right. That was an amazing blast for a half an hour workout. Now, I do want to train the calves properly because they're my weakest area. So I'm going to do what I usually do, which is nice and slow, full stretch. And the first set is an ignition set. And the second set is going to be a run down the rack style multi-level drop set. I'm using 40 pounds here, which is not a lot. But I want to make sure I'm doing it properly with the full stretch. They're almost at failure. So I'll do a static hold. That burns. Okay, now partials after the static hold. These are tiny partials, but they really burn. They're at the full stretch position. All right, last set for the session. First working set for calves. I gotta do this correctly to make it count. So I'm gonna start with 70 pounds. Let's see how that goes. So I'm gonna call this, in nerd speak, the efficient frontier between load and time under tension. And to do that, my signature trick is a multi-level drop set where you start off high and then you do an 8-level drop set. What happens is in the beginning, you get a lot of load. You might only get three reps, but then you drop set, you get another 3, you drop set, you get another 3. So across the whole exercise, you get lots of time under tension, but for the calves themselves, they're always near failure. So they're always near max load. Making sure to keep my knees straight, otherwise the soleus takes over, the muscle under the big part of the calves. So you got to keep your knees straight to have the gastros do the bulk of the movement. Okay, so they're a failure there, and I'm gonna do partials. Okay, I'm gonna drop it down by just 1 level and repeat. Okay, some partials. All right, that feels pretty good. They're exhausted already, so anything from here on is pretty much bonus. The burning is insane. It's hard to describe that. Okay, I'm just gonna do a static hold because even 1 rep is hard now, so I'll just let the static hold put time under tension on the muscle, and I can just feel the burning growing slowly. All right, last level of the drop set. Partials. All right, I would say pretty impactful for a nice quick half-an-hour workout, but I can tell the volume's not there because the quality of the pump is not that great. My calves, they're on fire. They're really burning. My, what's it called? The triceps were on fire. They felt really good, but after about 5 minutes, they went back to normal, even though you go to failure. So I do think I need more volume than that, but for today, we'll just leave it at this. So let's check out this pump. Let's start with side triceps. Left side. Okay. Back double by. All right, let's do a front most muscular. Okay, let's do a bicep check. We didn't work chest, but let's see if we can get any chest variations. A little bit. All right, it's gonna be a quick one today. That's it. And next we'll do legs. I gotta figure out when. Probably in 2 days, or if I'm more productive, maybe the day after tomorrow. I will see you guys later.
Hey, are you interested in project management consulting? Check out my blog where you can get a free roadmap on how to earn $10,000 per month or more in BI-FinTech consulting. That's business intelligence, finance technology consulting. Pretty much that's a fancy way of saying project management consulting in software data projects. This is my core expertise. I studied aerospace engineering, then pivoted, then became a professional project manager and cloud solutions architect. I can teach you how to do this. If you're looking to supercharge your career, be sure to check out my blog and roadmap. Totally for free, link in the description.